And in the hypnosis class, we will actually practice mesmeric magnetism, so we can see what they were talking about. Again, these are all descriptions of the world as it is experienced. This is not speculation. Okay? They're not just sitting around coming up with theories. They're actually saying, this is what I experienced by practicing these meditative methods. And so by getting into the heart of reality, they're then trying to make more precise descriptions of what they find there, to make it a little easier for their successors to find their way back and continue explaining the great mystery, which is this. Okay? Now, we have all grown up in the 20th and 21st century at the heart of the greatest technological empire the world has ever seen. And we were taught in school that we knew everything there was to know. Okay? And science, the science that we were taught in 3rd grade, was the key to understanding everything that there was to know. Okay? That was a lie. It was a flat-out calculated lie. Okay? It just simply is not true. All right? This is what we need to understand before we can even begin to approach the technological sciences. All right? And all of the people who gave us those technological sciences, like Descartes, like Newton, like Galileo, those people who created the foundations for our modern scientific, technological, empire here, they practiced the original meditative techniques in order to understand the nature of reality. And it was their understanding of the nature of reality, the true nature of reality, that allowed them the insight that gave us modern science. Scientists practice this stuff. True scientists. Because they need to peer into reality in order to understand what's going on, in order to create technological marvels. Einstein practices this. He even describes the practice that he uses. He even describes the method that he uses. Okay? Tesla uses this. I mean, everybody who has made an impact on our modern technological society uses some form of meditation and hypnosis. They do. That's how they get to where they are. This is the core of human enterprise. All right? The reason we were not taught this in school was because we were not intended to have this knowledge.
Maybe they didn't want us to meditate.
They don't. They do not want us to meditate. They would much prefer us to be in a constant state of confusion and pain.
It works. The way our whole world operates.
They are the people who run the place. Well, the educators are simply following the plan. The educators are simply doing what they are told. They also are not taught this. Okay? All right? But we can actually trace, we can go back and we can take a look at the early documentation of the people who run the place, and they say, hey, we want to make certain that the people who get taught do not ever get taught this. And so they systematically removed it from.
Why would they want us to know?
Well, because if we understand this, this is the truth that sets us free. This right here.
My
Okay.
dog.
What's that?
It walks.
Yes. Okay? And so the thing that happens here is that this kind of information, if we are all out there meditating and understanding what the purpose of meditation is, okay, then we could potentially pose a threat to the ruling aristocracy. Yes?
When you say they, are you inferring it's our government that runs the place?
No.
Well, who runs the place?
Oh, heavens no. Yeah, our government. Yeah, our government is.
Dysfunctional.
Well, it's not dysfunctional.
What's that?
This is one of the camouflage techniques that they've used for thousands and thousands of years. There are several camouflage techniques that the ruling class has used historically in order to confuse us. One of them is, gee, I'm sorry that happened. It appears to be, not what we really intended. We'll fix it. Okay? When in fact, what happened was exactly what they intended to happen. But because they convince us that it was a mistake and that the next person we elect will fix it, the agenda can continue unimpeded. Okay? If you study history, take a close look at history, and this is open source. I mean, this is mainstream history. you can go back and take a look at the methods that they use to control us. One of them is the two-party system. That's always good. Okay. If you really want a lot of confusion, you can adopt a parliamentary system in Britain, which has multiple parties. Okay, rather than just two, you have like 5 or 6 or 12 or however many you want. Okay, and you'll always be able to go to the public and say, look, it's because of those, you know, those incompetent bastards on the other side of the aisle. They're the reason why you're in so much pain and suffering. They're the reason why, because they won't do what we want them to do, because they're incorrigible assholes. Okay, so vote for us. Get more of us in there and we'll fix it. And then you get more of them, and it continues, and then those guys are saying, look, those guys over there, they're the problem. Vote more of us in. So, you know, this is the situation that we find.
When you say ruling classes, is this something that's passed out on from generation to generation?
Yes?
Or do the ruling classes change?
No. The ruling families have remained the same. In the modern era, the ruling classes have remained the same since the time of Caesar.
It's either king or church.
Both the same, yes, identical. Yeah, the Roman Empire, the military Roman Empire fell in 470 AD, 470 CE. Okay, but it had already founded the Roman Catholic Church in 325 CE, and so it just sort of shifted its focal point. Okay, and ruled Europe from the fall of the Roman Empire until you know, King Henry VIII, basically. Yeah, question.
So this goes back to the Illuminati and all that thing?
The Illuminati are more recent. The Illuminati were founded in Bavaria in 1776.
I mean, that's part of it too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. These are the people who formed the. You see, the ancient mystery religions were secret. Okay, and they didn't go away. They're still here, which is why we know so much about them, because they never went away. It's not ancient history. It's living history right now, this minute. Okay, the people who are ruling the planet are still practicing the ancient mystery religions.
So then now we'd be talking about the Bilderberg Society.
The Bilderbergs are part of them. They're you know, they meet yearly at least, and they, you know, you'll get 125 to 175, maybe 200 of the top corporate and political leadership, and they then take that information, whatever was decided, and then go out and implement it. Yeah, for example, recently the Bilderbergs typically want to meet here in the United States every 4 years because that's when the presidential election cycle occurs. So the last 2 times, in 2008 and 2012, they met in Chantilly, Virginia. Now in 2008, if you all recall, there was this period of about 3 days when no one knew where Senator Obama and Senator Clinton were. Remember? Okay, no one knew where they were. I mean, you know, where are they? Well, you know, the story was that they were meeting together at the Clintons' home in Chappaqua, New York. But in reality, they were at the Bilderberg meeting in Chantilly, Virginia. Okay, and we have photos of them. We have videos of them actually leaving, you know, entering and leaving.
They were where?
At Chantilly, Virginia, at the Bilderberg meeting. Okay, so they have been called back to Chantilly to argue their case before the Bilderberg committees about who was going to be president. And ultimately they decided that Senator Obama would become president and Senator Clinton would become Secretary of State, and that's what had actually happened. At the time, what had happened was prior to Super Tuesday, the people who controlled the finances had withdrawn their support from Hillary's campaign. So by the time of the Bilderberg meeting, she was about somewhere around $20 million in debt. And she and Bill had to contribute about $12 million of their own dollars to continue the campaign. So what the Bilderberg offered them was a compromise. You take Secretary of State, we will pay off your debts. And that's what happened. Okay, so these are all things that are in public, you just sort of have to look for them. They're reported, but they're not on Fox News. Okay, so you have to look for it. You have to find out what's going on. We have to, and that's part of what we're learning here. We're learning how to think for ourselves. We're learning how to understand the way the world really operates.
So they had to leave Mr. already then?
Yes, and in fact, several things happened at this particular meeting. They were kind of more secretive this time, and they had a very carefully concealed back entrance to the hotel in Chantilly this time. So it was more difficult for the people who camp out and take videos to get videos of people there. But it has been confirmed that Paul Ryan was there, okay, as well as 3 of the other vice presidential contenders, as well as Mitt Romney. So they were all there at Bilderberg. Now,
But Obama wasn't.
no, President Obama didn't go. Hillary did. Okay, so she was there. Now, if you recall back in 1993, Hillary attended the Bilderberg meeting then. She was outed at the Bilderberg meeting. They brought up the, I can't remember the name of the old law that says you can't do that. She had to pay $300,000 fine for showing up at Bilderberg. So that's one of the reasons why they're a little more surreptitious about who goes there, because if they're caught and they press the issue, they can be fined. So one of the things that emerged was who was going to be the vice presidential nominee for the Republicans, and that turned out to be Paul Ryan. If you recall, when Romney announced that Congressman Ryan was going to be his nominee, within 3 minutes of that announcement, there was an Obama counteract. Okay, and they knew that because it had already been decided at Bilderberg at the end of May. So this is all carefully orchestrated. They're spending, $2 or $3 billion in this election cycle. And so it's very carefully orchestrated about where they're going to spend their money, what kind of campaign ads, already prepared, already done, already in distribution, ready to go out as soon as the announcement was made. Yeah.
Does that mean that Romney's gonna be elected?
No, probably not. But we don't know yet. We will have to wait and
That's where
see.
the money's going to go.
Well, they spend their money. Remember, money for them is. They print the money, so they don't really care about it. Yeah, money for them is not the object.
Yeah, one of the things about Paul is the Wall Street, what is it, not magazine, but newspaper.
The Wall Street Journal?
Almost announced that he was going to be the next vice nominee. About 4 or 5 or 6, I think 6 weeks before.
Yes.
He was even.
Yeah, before anyone was even really considering it.
And I thought that was funny.
Yeah, and
how do you know?
yeah, how do you know? They know because
Yeah.
they know. Yes.
Well, are the people involved with this Bilderberg, are they worldwide? Are there many in the United States?
Yes, quite a few. Yeah, and this is the leaders of industry. This is the leaders of corporations. Google was there. The leadership of Google, the leadership of Facebook was there. Okay, so these are 125 or so world leaders, corporate leaders who get together once a year at least, sometimes more often, but usually once a year. And then they decide what they're going to do. Now, there have been maps prepared of the interlocking directorates. Now, if we go back to the early 1900s, right after President Teddy Roosevelt pushed through the Sherman Antitrust Act and then prosecuted Standard Oil under the act, and ostensibly broke up Standard Oil. Standard Oil is the Rockefellers. Okay, and they broke up Standard Oil, which was this huge monolithic big trust, and citing the Sherman Antitrust Act, they broke it up into 8 separate parts. Okay, well, all that meant was that the Rockefellers now controlled, instead of one big, behemoth corporation, they now controlled 8 very nimble, extremely effective corporations that could now go out and do other things. And they changed the laws so that, well, not the laws, but they changed the way that corporations were formed, that they were structured, so that in order to control a corporation, any corporation on the planet, if you were able to maintain a 5% stock control the 5% of the stock, you can control the corporation. So you don't have to own the whole corporation, you just have to own 5% of it. And that's what they were doing. So now, if you take a look at Bilderberg, and you take a look at the people who show up at Bilderberg, and you take a look at the top 125 corporations on the planet, and you look at the interlocking directorates, the interlocking directorates allow these 125 people to control over 22,000 corporations. Okay? So this is how the world operates. Yeah,
If a person were to Google this, could you find it?
sure.
How do
Yeah.
you spell it?
Bilderberg,
Uh-huh.
Bilderberg.
Where did that name come from?
It came from, they met originally in 1954 at the Bilderberg Hotel in Denver.
Oh.
So that's why they're called the
So the
Bilderberg.
first time was in 1954?
The first time this particular group met was in 1954.
Yeah, they allude to in several novels that there are other ones in Europe and
Mhm,
all
yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah, the Council on Foreign Relations is part of this. The Royal Institute for International Affairs is part of this. The RAND Corporation is part of this. The Heritage Foundation is part of this. All the big think tanks. Ford Foundation, you know, because the foundations are the way that they control the educational system, for example.
Even in history, is it they're the ones who sponsor the Crusades,
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. et
Yeah,
cetera.
yeah, all the way back, yeah. I mean, we can go all as far back as you want to go. You know, as far 6,000 BC, as far back as our public records go. Like I said, they probably have records that go further back than that, but we don't have access to that.
King and church.
Yep, King Church. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
What, the meditation?
Mhm.
Are we talking about meditation?
We are talking about, yes, because meditation, the important thing to keep in mind is that the reason why this is so important is because the people who run the place do this
Consciously?
consciously, deliberately.
Uh-huh.
Okay? They are trained in these methods. They are deliberately trained in these methods. We are not. We are deliberately not trained in these methods. And so it is important that we understand how these methods operate and get trained. It's important we do that. Yeah.
I've heard you say several times that we need to go out and search out and find what the truth is. If a commoner, which all we are, came up to me and said, well, how do I find the truth? What do you recommend? Because out here in the West, we don't get a whole lot of truth.
Well, the best way to do it is to use the internet search engines
Okay.
and just put in any of this kind of information. that you
And
want
if a
to find.
person is more common than some of us and does not have the computer, what's the next recommendation?
You can go, our library, the Idaho State University Library, is a federal repository, which means that it has all the government publications and everything that is printed by the government printing office. So it has everything that you would need to know.
So if they had a question,
Yep.
they could go to
They
the
could go to the
ISU
ISU library and they would probably, my own research, ISU library has provided 85%, 90% of everything that I've ever wanted to find is at the Idaho State University Library, one way or the other. Either there in their physical volumes or online through services that they contract to. So this is a very useful research library. Dr. Ogler put it together that way, and he's, it's a good library program.
But when you say go to the computer or to the net, there are some sites out there that are just kind of doing this stuff that is not true.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, there's a bunch of disinformation out
So again, how do we sift through this non-truthness versus the truthness?
there. By using the simple method.
Toss them up and down, I
Yeah,
like
well,
that.
by taking a look, the ancient method, the alchemists,
I want to burn up one of them.
yeah, no, the alchemists, yeah,
No, what,
if, from 1500 to 1700 CE, there were thousands and thousands and thousands, because remember, the printing press has now been around since 1442.
Uh-huh.
So there's bunches of these texts that are being printed by alchemists. Very similar to the current situation where there's all of these people out there publishing these books on spiritualism and all these other things. Okay? One of the true alchemists said, look, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's out there that is misleading.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's misleading because I want it to be misleading. I do not want anybody to just pick up my books and understand what it means.
Mhm.
If I haven't told them the key to deciphering what I read, they will never understand it. Okay, so I will select the people that I tell the key to, and then they can read and understand my works. So sometimes it's deliberately obscure. Other times they don't know what they're talking about. They're just frauds. They're just charlatans. All right. So he said, how are you going to know what the truth is when you've got all of this stuff?
Right.
He said there is a method, syncretism, the syncretic method. You read everything that's out there, and where they intersect. Okay. Assume everything they say is true, and where they intersect, you'll start to begin to get slices of truth.
Wow.
And the more places that intersect, the bigger the slice of truth will become. Until finally, if you read everything that's been printed by all the alchemists since 1500, you will see right in front of you the total corpus, and the truth will be there, and everything else will be gone.
Did
So
I
it's
need
very...
to start when I was 5 years old?
Yes,
to
you
read
have to
all
start
that?
when you're 5 years old. Basically. Or the other alternative, okay, since most people have lives to lead, families to raise, jobs to go to,
All this life.
you have to rely on people like me who will actually go out and do the research and then point you in the right direction. So again, you have to, but I can, we can point you in the right direction, and we can show you what you need to know, because that's what we've been doing. That's our job. Our job is to go out and read all of this stuff, and then pull it all together, get the slices of truth out of it, and then crystallize that into a simple presentation. And then you can go out and track from there. Okay? Because, yeah, if we all had to do it, we'd be in big trouble. Yeah.
I have for years maintained that our news media lets all of our officials, basically, because that's how people vote, is what they see on TV or what they read in the newspaper.
If your vote counted, that would be a good point.
I like that one too.
It doesn't count.
Doesn't the Bilderberg
Yeah.
control the news media?
Yes, they control all of it. In fact, yeah, they control all of it. The news, the standard news media, the big news media, are completely controlled. Owned, lock, stock, and barrel, outright by. Yeah, and of course now we've got the situation right now. This particular election, there are 3 non-United States companies that will be counting the ballots.
Wow.
All 3 of them controlled by George Soros.
Uh-huh.
By who?
George Soros, one of the multinational financiers, okay, who runs a hedge funds. So again, if we go back, we can take a look at the 2000 election, and you'll be able to see the way that the machinery operates behind the scenes.
So what's the point of voting?
Well, the point of voting is that if I can convince you that your vote matters, you'll give me another 4 years before you march on Washington with pitchforks and torches. And that's what voting is all about. If I can convince you that you actually have input to this process, I can continue on my merry way without any impede, without any,
It avoids chaos.
it avoids chaos, absolutely. And
Uh-huh.
it gives us a sense of solidarity. Okay? But, in point of fact, Stalin said it best. He said, I do not care, who casts the ballots. I care who counts the ballots. And that's where the elections are won, in the counting process, not in the voting process. Whoever controls the counting, they're the ones who determine who wins.
Well, just look at Florida.
Yeah, remember Florida, the hanging chads. Yeah, and we saw that. Again, it's all out in the open. And we can look at it. We can actually see it and say, wow.
Oh, wasn't the,
How then, what all the elections to tell that the non-US corporation or whoever's gonna count the ballots?
Just go look at it. Yeah, there's news articles about it. They're not hiding anything anymore. Yeah, nothing is hidden anymore. It's all out in the open. There's multiple sources. There's multiple research that's done. This will be in the New York Times. This will be in the Wall Street Journal. This will be in major publications. Just sort of as an item of interest. By the way, these 3 corporations are going to be counting most of the ballots in the United States. They have a contract. They're companies. Okay? So those are the kind of things. And it's out there. They actually put it out there and tell us all of this stuff. We're inundated by information. And so we have to know what to sift through and find again, to triangulate and find the truth. Yeah?
How is it decided who counts the ballot?
The federal government awards the contract, So, you know, whoever controls, the golden rule is, you know, whoever controls, whoever has the gold makes the rules, and that's basically what's going on. Yeah, so, you know, this is why we're here learning this stuff, because this is the most important information that you will ever learn in your lives. Not only because it will help you avoid pain, and not only because it will help you avoid suffering, and not only because it will give you the tools that you need in order to cope with the inevitable failure of this organism. Because this thing is going to end. Okay? This thing has a definite life cycle. It has a termination date. Okay? And with modern science, the termination can be painful and prolonged and nasty. All right? So this is not trivial information we're dealing with here. This is the core of everything that is human. All right? And we can get off into the political sphere because it's based upon this. The people who run the place do this kind of stuff. They do it every day. They do it religiously. They are very disciplined. We need to be as equally disciplined if we have any chance of surviving. Okay? So, I mean, this is a critical piece of data that you need to have. You need to practice this stuff. Personally, because, like I said, ultimately, you know, every day, you know, we can encounter a situation where we are in pain and suffering. Some of us in this room right now are, experiencing a huge amount of pain and suffering. So from a personal level, we have to learn these techniques because we can then, ameliorate that pain and suffering. We can then begin to take some control of it. But ultimately, of course, the practice of death then allows us, at the time of death, when this organism finally does terminate, then we will know what's going on. Just like Socrates said, I know it like the streets of Athens. It's not a mystery to me, like it would have been before. It's not something to be afraid of. It's something to be embraced in practice, every day, every minute of every day. Okay, like Descartes, out in the real world, learning how to tell the difference between us, the thinking substance which we are, which is immortal, and the extended world, the rest of that stuff out there, the unconscious mind. Okay? Sorry we got off under that little sidetrack, but it's always interesting because politics is the way the world runs, and politics is founded upon this stuff. Okay? This stuff is secret because we're not supposed to know it. We really aren't. And the field is contaminated by a bunch of nonsense so that it's more difficult for us to learn this. Yeah.
Ellie, how did you come down?
Well, like I said, I started when I was really young. I started when I was 8.
Oh, you weren't 5, huh?
I was in 4th grade. How old would I have been when 4th grade? I was in 4th grade.
Oh.
So my friend's father did hypnosis, and so he started introducing me to that. And so I started to do research on that and just began to explore all of this stuff. And then over time, collected the information, the 30,000 documents and audio files and other things that comprise the library, and was able to, do the syncretic method and finally come up with the truth. Because as you begin to read more and more of these documents, you begin to see, literally, they will intersect, and voila, they will illuminate this element of truth. And then that begins to illuminate the rest of it until finally the whole thing just appears magically in front of you. And then everything has its own place, and everything that's new data can be put into this structure and can be evaluated as to its truth. Okay? Or if it's really complex, can be, put in its place and then evaluated over time as to its truth. So it is a very difficult process to go through. And one of the difficulties that we find is that the biggest difficulty that we find is that it is so hard for us to basically admit that the level of deception is as high as it is. It's hard for us to even comprehend that. You and I would never deliberately lie to each other. Okay? We just wouldn't. We would not do that. We were not raised that way. Our generations were not raised to tell lies. We were raised to tell the truth. And so mostly, we do that. And so it is very difficult for us to pierce through the layer and layers and layers and layers of deliberate, very carefully constructed deception. And that's part of what this is all about, because this allows us to cut through it very rapidly. You know, it gives us discernment, to use the old term. Yeah.
Couldn't this lead to a defeated attitude?
A defeatist attitude? No, because this is liberating. This is liberating. Yeah, remember, it doesn't, again, we are not facing any different situation than any of our ancestors were facing. If we were growing up in 1800 BCE in Egypt as a slave to the Egyptians, we would be looking at exactly the same situation. If we were living in Athens at the time of Socrates and Plato, and we were not one of the elite, we would be looking at the same situation. If we were living in Rome in 30 BC, we would be living under Caesar. We were living under an absolute tyranny. Okay? I mean, any time in history along the path, if we were not part of the elite structure, we would be facing the same situation. It doesn't matter. France, Germany, Russia, ancient Persia, modern day United States. It doesn't matter when along that timeline continuum we lived. If we were not part of the elite, we would be facing exactly the same situation as we are now. Okay? It just wouldn't matter. We would be facing exactly the same situation, because tyranny is the way that the world operates. It has always been a tyranny. Okay? Evil in this place triumphs all the time. Good never triumphs. I defy anybody who studies history to show me any time in history when good has ever triumphed. Ever. Tyranny triumphs. They're good at it. So, again, no defeatist attitude. This is the situation that we face as living human beings, regardless of when we were alive. We just happen to be alive now. And unlike our ancestors who would have been seriously limited because they would not have had, food to eat. They would have been on a strict diet that would have limited their calorie intake. They would have also not been taught how to read and write. They would have had, if they learned that, it would have been very surreptitious, very secret. Okay? We have access to the internet. We have access to the library. We have access to all of this. We can actually go out and find the truth. Okay? And the truth will set us free. And it doesn't matter when we live, and it doesn't matter whether we're elite or common. Sooner or later, this thing is going to die.
Mhm.
So we're all equal. Death is the great leveler. Okay? So we face the same situation that all of our ancestors faced. And our ancestors were simply closer to the methodology for finding the truth, the elite. And some of them, like Plato, like Aristotle, said, hey, we should not keep this to ourselves. We should let everybody know about this. So they wrote it down. And it has survived across the centuries so that those of us today can go back and take a look at their writings and, with just a little bit of understanding, translate it and understand what they're talking about, which is this: how to separate consciousness from the body, which is what meditation is. It is the primary and summit only method of separating consciousness from the extended world. And once your consciousness is free, once you have actually experienced that, once you've experienced the second, let's go back here. Once you've experienced this one, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's this close. It's this close. Your experience is this close. Couple of weeks of daily practice, you will be here, and you will know what I'm talking about. Okay? So no defeatist attitude. No need to be defeatist. We're immortal. What difference does it make? Okay? This is the arena in which we learn. This is the arena in which we evolve. Okay? We are immortal, and we are not going to be destroyed by no matter what happens here, which is what our ancestors learned. This is the God spell. This is the gospel. This is the ancient Christian gospel, the truth that sets you free. This is what they were talking about. This, right here. Once you've achieved this one, the elimination of applied and sustained thought, once you've achieved that, everything will start to become clear. And it won't matter what the politicians do. Okay? It will be you know, because it won't matter, because this is what we're here to learn. This is what we're here to learn. Once we know how to do this, everything else becomes play. Exploration. Okay? This is the truth that sets us free. This, right here. And then the further we go, until finally we're here, the more and more it makes sense. And the more free from our own pain and suffering we are, and the more and more direct experience of the immortality of ourselves becomes. That then becomes not an article of faith, not an article of speculation, but an absolute, concrete, hard fact in our own experience. Demonstrable, indubitable, not doubtable. Okay? From ancient times to the present. Everything that happened then is happening now. One long, continuous, unbroken chain of events, and it's all the same. It's all the same from then to now. We just have to understand it. We just have to get through the camouflage in order to understand what they were saying. Because they're all saying the same thing. Okay, it's 11:30. We'll meet again next week. We'll continue with this. Practice your meditation. Like I said, try to get to this point. This is where interesting things start to happen. This is where you can demonstrate to yourself the truth of your own existence, the truth of your own immortal existence. All right? And this is also where the pain will begin to go away. Yeah, those of us who suffer from chronic pain, this is where it starts to go away. It is completely gone here, but here we begin to get relief from it.
So
just
you're talking about physical and emotional pain?
Yes, both. They all drop off here. They all drop off here, and then we're in a position to begin to, explore all of those things, and to begin to make the modifications that we can make to the physical structures, so that maybe the pain can be eliminated altogether. Because we really do have a lot of input into what this thing does, into its actual structure. Okay, so the closer we get to this, once we're at the fourth absorption and everything drops away, things, like I said, it'll click. You'll know what I'm talking about. Because we have a common vocabulary, and then we will have a common experience. This is achievable. All of this is achievable very easily by all of us. Just simply use the audio tapes to get to these levels. And like I said, once you get here, everything starts to make a lot of sense. Everything starts to complete. Yeah?
Basically just by breathing?
Just by breathing. Breathing is the key. Breathing is the Rosetta Stone that unlocks everything. Yeah.
So I didn't come last class. So how do you practice the meditation?
Oh,
How do
just
you-
a second here. Go out. Oh, here we go. Okay.
You do that.
Okay.
Oh,
Here are the audio tracks. This one right here will explain everything that we talked about last time.
uh-huh.
All right? This one here will sort of guide you through the process of breathing properly through humming.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one and this one are just two different versions of the same thing. 10 minutes of just the meditation, 20 minutes of the meditation.
Okay.
So download these files, listen to this one first, and then just pick any one of those
So
three
that
flavors.
is kind of music help
Yes,
you?
yeah, these are the guided kinds of things that I put together.
Oh, okay.
Just to make it a little easier to hum
Oh,
and get that breathing cycle.
okay. So when you do the breathing, did you have to sit in the position that comfortable, or like?
We will talk about postures next week,
Okay.
and I'll show you the various postures and how we can get into them. If you can assume one of the standard meditation postures, that's good. All right. If you cannot, okay, and some people cannot, they're physically incapable of doing that, then what you need to do is get a nice comfortable chair or a nice comfortable couch or something where you can just relax and will not fall over. Okay? Because that's mostly, the meditative postures do two things. They focus, they contract they literally put pressure on the abdominal regions here so that the breathing cycle becomes easier to maintain. Okay? But they also are stable, so that when you do enter into the fourth absorption, and mind and body are falling off, you don't just fall over. Okay? And so all you need to do is find a nice comfortable chair where when you do drop off into these meditative absorptions, you won't fall off, you won't fall over. That's all you need to do. Okay? The postures themselves are useful for that, but not necessary. Okay? So we're at the crux now. We're at the crux of the reason why this is so important and why it has come down to us from the distant past in an unbroken chain to the present. It has never, ever stopped being taught. Ever. And it is the same now as it was 8,000 years ago. It is identical. No difference. Here, there, Greece, Rome, Persia, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. Any other questions before we go? Okay? See you next week.
Thank you.
Welcome. You're welcome. Hope that was a good political discussion. Yeah, I know. Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely. Just write your name here. And I'll make one up for next week. You're welcome. Oh, good. Awesome. Okay.
Where are we signing? Pen and sheet?
No. This is to have a CD name. That's okay. That's all right. That's what you need. See, we're under so much stress and we're under so much pain that when we finally get some relief from it, the body wants to sleep. Okay? But that's okay. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. As you continue forward in practice, the body will strengthen itself, and the nervous system will strengthen itself, and it'll be easier and easier to just maintain meditative posture.
I'm so relaxed now, I think I might fall asleep.
Yeah, you see. Okay. Okay, so I will make another one there. Okay. $3. Yeah, $3 would cover the cost of everything. For the CD. Yeah, no, or you can pay me. Yeah. I'll just make a CD.
One copy, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What does the L stand for?
L is Juan, D is Douglas, LD.
And you're related to Martin?
Yeah, Martina Gordon, yeah. My parents. Yeah. Thanks.
Wonderful people.
Yes, very wonderful people. Okay, so, so this is the sign-up sheet if you want the CD.
And you'll have it.
I'll have it next week. I'll have it ready for next week.
Okay. 3 things.
Yes.
My $3, I did pick it up. I just don't have any.
Oh, that's fine, I'll just,
Okay.
just next week is fine.
Hildeberg.
Yes.
B-I.
T-I-L-D-E-R, Hilder, D-E-R-G. E-R-G. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh.
Glad I brought that up. Now everybody will look on it.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember
Okay,
somewhere.
name?
Your name.
Oh, Ann.
Yeah.
Here,
I remember a
top
long
line.
time ago.
Oh, Ann,
Very,
yeah.
very rich.
That's from Blackfoot.
Yes.
Cool, thanks. Thanks, Ann.
I think every year.
You need a CD?
And, yeah.
Perfect, go ahead and sign it.
Where do you get all your?
Yeah.
School is economics. That's when I first learned.
Yes.
No,
No, it didn't. Yeah, this is Dr. Arthur West. Not Dr. Arthur West, this is Dr. his father. Dr. What was his first name?
And what is that?
Yeah, this is before, this was way back there. Yes. No, I haven't done that. So I don't know. I don't know that.
They can do whatever they want.
Okay, well,
It's kind of like my husband said, I don't understand how you ever got through all that shit without knowing about it.
Right.
I know. And then the third thing I'm a visual person.
Yes.
This reading is still any of those questions.
See, there's,
Do they have questions on
Oh,
that?
okay.
Cool, that's exactly what I'm
Oh,
going
Yeah, so that's all you need to do, just, and you'll just be, there's the official website of the building. Yeah, so it's all out there. Yeah.
Okay, reading, this is 3:1, so, I'm gonna show you what I'm doing, and this is in correctly, so I can, so it takes. In?
No, it'll be 15 seconds, it'll be 5 seconds in, ultimately. This
Yes,
is,
please.
this is hard, this is kind of hard to get to.
Yes, it
This
is.
will happen, this will happen down the road,
Oh, okay.
okay?
So what are you doing in the meantime? You're counting?
No, you don't count. Don't worry about counting. Counting, we could do counting, but it distracts us.
Yeah.
All we're doing is humming, because we don't care about the ratio. The ratio will take care of itself.
Oh.
All we care about is just maintaining the humming.
Yeah.
Ultimately, sometime down the road, we will all of a sudden realize that we are now breathing out 15 seconds and breathing in 5 seconds.
Yeah. Okay, can you show me? So I know the goal, please.
Yes, yeah, sure.
And the more you do this, the better. Right?
Yes, the more you do it, it trains the body, it trains the organism to do this. And so you do
Minimum
that.
of,
Well, I would say a minimum of like 10 minutes. You know, it just sort of depends on
a day?
a day.
That's not much.
It's not much. It doesn't take much. It really doesn't.
I find it's hard to believe it,
Yeah. No, it really doesn't.
you know,
20 minutes
so
now.
much pain.
Yeah. No, you will find that after, like I said, 2 weeks. 2 weeks of like 10 to 20 minutes a day, and you will begin to notice a massive change in the way that you feel. It's amazing. It's magic. It's almost magic.
Yeah, and it's even science because they say blood, when you're breathing in, your blood is circulating. It says as it circulates, it
Kind of.
changes. The whole thing is
Is the class coming in?
human.
Okay.
Not for an hour.
Oh, okay, good. So we have
Yeah.
some time
Hi,
here.
John.
No, yeah.
Excuse me, Rosa.
I'll let you through. It says I need a demonstration on my goal because I'm overthinking it. And when I start overthinking it, I miss the process. And so I'm over worried that it's just we're not doing it right.
Well, there is no way to do it wrong. Okay, it's impossible to do it wrong.
So
Yeah.
I should just breathe.
Yeah, just breathe and just let's.
And the body itself would normally
Yep, everything
will fall in place, huh?
everything will automatically fall because the humming is not forcing it. It is guiding the body into this state.
Okay. Now when the humming is I just one straight hum.
Yep, just a second. You'll hear the track.
We have enough problems with adding whether we're going.
Right, exactly. That's why we wanted to simplify it down so that it's all sort of mechanical and it just follows.
This humming, is this for cognitive skills?
This is for meditation, which will improve cognitive skills. Yes.
My nephew.
Welcome to the audio track for
Yes.
resonant breathing. This
Actually,
track is divided into 5
the nervous system. This is more
Part 1 introduces you to the 2 audio tones
total
of the
psychophysiological
resonant breathing exercise.
okay.
But if one side of the brain is not well with the other, it won't do any good.
No, there is no that never happens. Yeah,
But you can build this up though. He does, he is saving people with autism.
Listen to
Yes,
the
but
flight
that's not the mechanism that's
No,
causing
okay,
it.
but that's one of the tools he uses.
Yes, but that's not the actual underlying causal reason for it. Okay.
Which is more effective in general, hypnosis or meditation?
Meditation for what we want to do here.
For pain.
Yeah, hypnosis, they're both really good for it.
It's kind of related with each other.
They're very related.
Listen
We'll take a look at the relationship.
Yeah, I should have taken hypnosis, yeah, but
I was honestly okay.
Mhm.
Probably half the time because of my
Okay. Oh, okay, okay.
I'll get what I can, even though I can't get through
Sure. Once you have the CD, that will make it a lot easier.
it. We have a one.
Now we'll put the 2 tones
It's harder
together.
than it
Get you can begin practicing with your resonant breathing
Pardon me?
for about 5 minutes,
Leibniz and Newton.
at which time you will return with additional instruction.
Neither invented,
Right.
invented calculus.
Well,
Or discovered.
discovered, yeah, discovered, yes.
Yeah, but it's a different,
Yeah, but you said Descartes was involved in.
Geometry?
Yeah, you said
Cartesian.
calculus.
Oh, did I say calculus?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Now, actually, we use Leibniz.
Yes, exactly, that's it, yeah. And it's like exactly, and there were those disputes about it. Yeah, absolutely.
Huh?
Can I let you go?
You can come on.
Right. So here's, this is the track.
Not well, there
Here's
wouldn't be
the-
Your age, you know, we all are getting older.
No, we all are. Even a baby's getting old. This is one of those statements.
Just hum with it.
When you say,
Yeah, take a breath when it's natural.
when everybody realizes, you say, I'm getting older. Everybody realizes that you need your own.
just follow my.
Just follow your own body, and it will automatically stabilize it when you get to the later. Automatically. So just hum. That's all you have to do.
I tried
Yeah,
that.
we're not counting automatically, just hum. And that will trigger the side things. There's something that's
A person who learns about life.
everything in the meditation, they automatically.
Ah, that's possible.
Okay?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. You're welcome.
Supposedly, and
That's really simple.
Yeah, well, a lot of it.
in colonial advice, advice to Larry,
You've been trained, you've been.
neither a borrower nor a lender being a left.
One of the
There
things I
are
learned
all
to be stressed
kinds
is
of
anything is too
hidden
simple.
Right.
jokes
It is,
and
yeah, it has to be harder.
irony.
Right, it's gotta be more difficult.
Oh, I love the ironies.
Yeah.
I love stuff about
And,
ironies.
and when it isn't, I get frustrated.
And every good, there's bad, and every bad,
Exactly.
is good.
Exactly.
It's my school trip.
I mean, some of the best things
Okay,
you've ever
so
had were the
okay.
result of just something bad.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've had any other.
So look upon the bad as a blessing and see what you can get out of it. You won't go that far.
I know, I.
Lessons learned. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is it too late to get into the hypnosis class?
No? Yeah, there's still.
What'd you ask?
Oh, the hypnosis class is too late. Because these
Oh.
classes are already paid for, but I was thinking.
But why would the Buddha
He's not.
Did you hear that?
She mentioned, she says, well, the salvation is here. And then she said the Buddha says that initially, but it goes somewhere else. And I like to ask.
Yeah, ask it, 'cause that, yeah.
Yeah, because
that-
it didn't make sense.
Yeah, and it's not, that is not an accurate representation of the Buddhist.
So what
Doctrine.
meditation are we doing? Tranquility,
We're doing tranquility meditation,
which could lead.
which then will lead to
Insight.
insight meditation, right? Because once the tranquility has been achieved, that is, once this structure has removed its awareness from the external world, and then systematically remove it from the awareness of the body itself, then what's left is the consciousness which you are. That's all that's left. Mind and body fall off. And the only thing of which you are aware then is the consciousness which you are, this thinking substance. Because the awareness of everything else in the extended world is gone. And so now you can just sit there and hang out and begin to recognize what it is, what you are, self-knowledge, know yourself at that point. Now, this has serious implications for behaviors, once we re-establish connection to the organism here and are now dealing with other thinking substances in, interacting with their avatar. This is an avatar. Okay, and we'll get to that. We'll talk about that with the client. And so, it's me talking through the body. It's me looking through the body's eyes. And so you have to get used to that. It's a little disconcerting at the beginning, but once you get used to it, then it starts to feel right. Okay? Most of the problems that we have, most of the psychosomatic difficulties that we have, are because we confuse the thinking substance which we are with this thing. And so we make demands on this thing that it cannot possibly meet. It cannot do what we ask it to do because we're asking it to do something that it can't do. And so once we understand the difference between the two, we stop doing that. We stop asking it to do all of these things that it cannot do. And so that eliminates all of the psychosomatic difficulties that we have, leaving only the natural progression of the organism's life cycle, which is useful, which is also useful. Okay?
Yeah.
So yeah. And again, this is all experientially based. This is not theory. This is like you can learn how to do this.
So next week I can't be missing.
Okay.
Next week for the meditation.
Oh, okay, because you'll be out of town. That's no problem. Yeah, we'll just pick up the following week with that.
Oh, okay, so if I come, I won't be completely lost.
No, and you'll always have we'll have the video and everything, so you can. Yeah. Oh, go pick up your CD. That's fine. Okay, yeah, then just practice. You'll see almost immediately. The more and more relaxed you become, the more and more coherent state you achieve, the easier it is to recognize the fact that what it is that you are is now standing out.
Well, I can even see when you do meditation with the humming, even without it, a taste.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a difference. Yeah, just
like,
getting that breathing cycle. Yeah. So, again, it's not, like I said, it's not hard. It's really simple.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, see ya.
Okay, see you, thanks.
I need the password. I didn't get all the password. I need the password.
Oh, the password is NKA fall.
NKAF.
Fall, F-A-L-L, fall semester, 2012, 2012. Yeah, so
Okay.
really, something really simple.
Yeah,
Yeah, very, very, so that everybody can remember it.